Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to talk a bit about my experiences thus far with this GrayGuns Laser-Sculpted grip for the Sig P320. I've had this on here for a little bit over a week now, and this is my everyday carry gun, so I've been using it a decent amount. So I wanted to talk about it because I'm really liking it so far. So I think a good starting point would be to kind of talk about the differences between this GrayGuns grip and Sig's grip themselves, because they are kind of similar, but the differences particularly lie in this grip texturing here, which is really well done. It looks quite nice and also works quite well on this GrayGuns grip. So the reason I chose this one over the equivalent from Sig themselves would be the Laser-Engraved XCarry, is because if you look here, the grip texture itself goes all the way around the gun, so there's a little bit more grip just in general, which I quite like. But in addition, one other thing that you have that is different is on Sig's grip themselves, it only has the side panels and the front and back, whereas on this you see you have the kind of quarter, on the 45-degree angles, I guess you could say, that also have grip, which I have noticed when I've been shooting this helps a ton in maintaining a nice firm grip on the handgun and not letting it slip around. However, this does start life as a standard Sig grip. It's just once GrayGuns gets it, they then do their laser sculpting or engraving on it. So, for all intents and purposes, it's just external modifications that have been done to it, and otherwise it's just a standard XCarry, which is kind of nice in terms of, fit. When I was installing this, I noticed it was very simple, as you would expect, because internally, all those dimensions are just straight from Sig, so quite good there. This was an easy, literally just a drop in, the Sig P320 is a very modular handgun, and it was very easy to get that switched out. And then one more thing also about the texture here, and another reason why I chose it is because this does have just more texture in general, or at least it seems like it. You can see there, that's how it is textured, and I was comparing this to Sig's, especially, as I keep mentioning, the Laser-Engraved is the one I was heavily debating between, because that one is a lot less expensive than this one is, or not a lot, but it is certainly less expensive. But I do think this actually has a better texture, but that's something that I'm not totally sure on, because of course I chose to go with this one instead of Sig's themselves. So just speaking on this, however, it really does grab your hand. Now, I know a lot of people like to get their handguns stippled. Not opposed to that. One thing I have noticed, I've handled a fair bit of handguns and other people's handguns as well that they've had stippled in the past, and I've noticed that, you can have different degrees of stippling, and personally I'm not a fan of overly aggressive grips. I like it being, I guess you could say, like pretty aggressive on the grip, but not so much that it kind of digs into your hand, but that's kind of an arbitrary definition. Hopefully you get what I mean. Either way, I would say that this grip it's pretty aggressive, but it's not extreme, which may be good or bad depending on you and how you like your grips on your handgun to be. And that grip problem was something I actually mentioned in my original video, which I have since unlisted because I don't think it turned out that well. But when I originally got this Sig P320, one of the things I mentioned is it doesn't seem like it has as much grip as I would like on it. But yeah, that definitely fixed that problem. But another issue I noticed somewhat more recently as I've adopted a more modern handgun shooting stance, as I've gotten more training and stuff like that, is that on the standard P320 grip, you have a very low beaver tail, whereas on this XCarry, I guess, compared to other handguns, it's still a little bit low, but you can get your hand quite a bit higher on the handgun, which just helps significantly for control of it. Kind of having the higher beaver tail and also being able to get up a little bit higher on the trigger guard just helps a lot. Those two things aren't inherent with GrayGuns grip. You got to remember this did start as Sig's grip, and that's stuff that Sig themselves did. So yeah, the only difference with the Sig and the GrayGuns grip is just the grip texture itself, nothing else. Another consideration I do just want to mention is I did choose this XCarry even though I used to have a full-size grip on here. The reason for that is because I noticed I'm never using those end Picatinny slots, so I figured why bother having them. because I never use them. I'm going to be mounting later in the future a Surefire X300 on here, which just takes up this last slot right here, and it doesn't have any issues with fit, so not really concerned about that. GrayGuns does offer other sizes as well. They offer a full size, they offer an XCarry, and I believe they offer the X Compact as well. Now as for the color, I did get this in all tan, as you can see here. This is just an OEM Sig color. One thing I think is kind of cool about GrayGuns is they do offer this grip in a lot of different colors, which definitely does set them apart from Sigs themselves. I was very heavily considering getting, they have an olive drab color, and if you've watched any of my previous videos, I've mentioned on numerous occasions, I do quite like green on everything. So I was considering getting the green. It looks quite nice. They have, so their green grip is just cerakoted green, but it starts as a black grip. So where they laser sculpt it, it kind of shows through like a black kind of two-tone, which looks really cool. But I was just concerned because the way my holster fits is it's a little tight right here on the grip itself. So I was worried that if it was cerakoted, it would probably rub off. In the past, I've had not great experiences with Cerakote. They're on some high use surfaces. I've noticed it always tends to kind of come off. So I didn't want to risk it on an everyday carry handgun. I thought that might have an issue. But I did notice in other reviews, which you always have to take with a pretty enormous grain of salt, on GrayGuns' website themselves, a lot of people were saying that they weren't having any issues with the Cerakote coming off. So I don't actually have too much experience with Cerakote on polymer, just on metals, and that's been my experience with that. So something to keep in mind there. I just didn't want to risk it, so that's why I just went with all tan, which I do think actually, as far as looks are concerned, does look pretty good as well. I suppose now would be a good time to talk about the price difference between this GrayGuns grip and Sigs themselves, because I did mention earlier that they're kind of more expensive. So this grip, without Cerakote, is approximately $140 if I remember correctly. However, if you go with Cerakote, I believe that goes up to $190, maybe it's $170. Put it up on the screen because I'm not totally remembering the exact price right now. That is, if you go with the Cerakote option, that does get significantly more expensive than Sig's option, but granted, you can't get some of those colors that you can get with the Cerakote in Sig's options. With Sig, you only have black and tan. With their Cerakote, I think you have like this weird light blue, you have a pink, and then you have green, and they also have I believe they call it a coyote, and then they also have a tan. Tan is all tan, where the whole module is tan, and then they have one where it's black, but then they Cerakote it tan or coyote, and then so you have like that two-tone thing going on I was mentioning earlier, which also does look kind of cool, but again, didn't want to risk it myself. So I do believe the price was $180, whether it was $180, $190, it doesn't really matter either way. I think that's getting a little bit steep for a grip module, but if you do like those custom colors, then I guess, you do you. $130 though, which is what I paid since I just got it in all tan, I think that's a perfectly acceptable price. It's not a whole lot more. I would say for what you're getting, in addition to the standard Sig grip, is worth that price difference. It's not a huge amount more. So to close up and kind of just bring everything back together and just add a few more thoughts, I do think that whether you get a XCarry or whatever you get, whether you get the GrayGuns, I do think that whichever route you choose, if you have a P320, I think that either choice is significantly better than the standard grip, the full size, or, well, I shouldn't say full size, but just the standard grip that they used to have on here. Having that higher beaver tail, as I said, having less on the trigger guard so you can get up on it higher, but then especially on this GrayGuns, just having more grip in general. One note on that though, so I do like that they have all this grip going all the way around, but if I could say one thing, is I do wish they had just a little bit more grip right here, kind of on that top portion, I guess you could call it, because the way that I shoot the handgun is I tend to go in right here, and I kind of use the slide release as an index point. So I go until I can touch it, and then I just go a little bit below it. I kind of started doing that on the Beretta when I used to use that a bunch, because with how my hand fits on it, I always would kind of push up on the slide release. So that's just kind of a way that I've found that works well to just get my thumb out of the way and kind of maximize how much grip I have on the gun itself as well. So since my thumb is up there, that's why I wish that there was just a little bit of texture just right there. That would definitely It's not much, but I feel like it would make a pretty good difference. So that covers all my thoughts on this. I like it. I think it's a really good grip, and I would recommend checking it out if you're interested in it. It's worked out really well for me so far. As for a few other things, just a few kind of channel updates to mention where I'm going with this P320. If you're familiar with my channel, if you've been subscribed for a while, or if you've just kind of looked at it a fair bit, I have been doing a series on AK upgrades quite a bit in the past. I like making videos a bunch on upgrades. I'm going to be doing the same sort of thing starting with this video. On the P320, of course, getting this grip on here. I'm going to be getting the slide milled. I will be doing a video on that once I get it milled, just to talk about how they do, and hopefully it's good and not terrible. Getting an RMR on here, getting a Surefire on here, and I will be replacing this trigger shoe with one of those flat triggers from Apex. Not going to be changing out the internal trigger components, but just to kind of give an idea of where I'm going to be going with this thing. And so with that covers everything. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it informative. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. So take care, and see you all then.